What is up, Cinco Nation? Welcome to Flix Feed. I'm Warren Cinco, and today we are reviewing Bandersnatch. What do you guys think about my backdrop? I'm still reworking it yet again, but it's still work in progress, so pretty soon I'm gonna show you guys the new version. So Bandersnatch is a new Netflix original movie, which is directed by David Slade, and it stars a lot of people you don't know, except for this guy. So it stars Fionn Whitehead, Will Poulter, Asim Chaudhry, and Craig Parkinson. And it tells the story about Stefan Butler, a young programmer in 1984 who wanted to adapt a novel into a video game called Bandersnatch. And pretty much that's the story right there. Very simple, very straightforward. And the reason why I was intrigued and interested in this movie was because it's one of the first, if not the first movie that is interactive based, where you as the audience member can make choices for the characters. So I thought to myself, wow, that's actually pretty interesting. It actually reminds me of growing up reading those choose your adventure type books, which were popular in the 80s and 90s, and there was a quick reference to that actually in the movie as well. The problem with the movie, and let's just get right to the negatives, is the fact that although it's interactive and it is an original take on movies, after a while it starts to get stale, starts to get old real quick. As a matter of fact, after an hour into the movie, I'm already like expecting to make choices, and kind of because of that reason, it took me out of the movie. I watched this movie with my sister and brother-in-law through FaceTime, and we took turns making choices for the characters, and at first it was pretty fun, entertaining. It was actually pretty cool. But like I said earlier, after an hour in, it started to get boring. And more importantly, the choices wasn't as exciting as I thought they'd be. They started to be anticlimactic. There are multiple endings. So far, within 3 hours of watching this movie, we were able to explore two endings. I think one of them was the real ending, but there are multiple endings to this movie. After, like I said, 3 hours in, and pretty much making the same mistakes or the same decisions, there's still some direction that need to be there. They are still trying to steer you towards a certain path, even though technically, by definition, it shouldn't be that way. So that was a downfall in that it's still linear to a certain extent. Like I said earlier, after watching this for a little while, I'm taken out of the story every time. Every time there's a scene where I actually can get immersed in it and be very in tune with it, and then the choices come into play, then I have to stop and pause for like 10 seconds and make the choice. And then if it's not the right choice, or if it's a boring choice, or if it's not that interesting, then we have to go back, and then it's very jarring. It's like I'm going back and forth, and after a while, yeah, it becomes a game more than actually being an entertaining movie. It just seems like your mission is just to direct these characters, and whatever happens happens. So there's really no motive, there's no purpose. It's just for you to kind of play a game in a way. So if that's the purpose of the movie, then bravo. I highly doubt that's the case. Probably the one that really stood out to me the most is the fact that I think this is just like a big Netflix advertisement, in that there was an actual option to choose Netflix. And I'm like, really? Like, I know you guys are one of the greatest streaming services out there, but are you guys that egotistical, that self-centered, that now that you have to kind of like put yourselves out there in a way that, hey, we control you because we're Netflix and you're watching our shows, you're watching our movies? It's kind of laughable, but also like, damn, you guys are really that egotistical, aren't you? But I still like the idea. Which, let's go to the positives. Being that I've never seen this way of movie making before, and this type of interaction. I know like movies should get you very involved and get you entertained and excited, sad, all the emotions. This is probably the first time I've seen a movie where you are so immersed into it in a way that you can make choices for the character. But like I said earlier, that's only going so far. After a while, it just it takes you out of the movie. But nevertheless, I like the creativity and the originality and the thought behind it. And then my one other positive is the fact that it is nostalgic in a way that it does remind me of those Choose Your Adventure books when I was growing up, and I always loved those books. But other than that, really, that's it. So after 3 hours in and really getting nowhere except for 2 endings, I think Van Damme would approve this movie. Yeah, it's not much of a story. It gets stale, gets old after a while. The choices are anticlimactic sometimes, and in the end, you know, it's kind of like a big gimmick for Netflix to flex their egotistical muscles. But nevertheless, it's still creative, and it's one of the first times I've seen a movie like this. So I still think you guys should check it out. So with that said, Bandersnatch, have you seen it? What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments below. But please be careful with spoilers. And if you like my review, go ahead and smash that like button. Support this channel by subscribing and telling your family and friends about FlixFeed. And as always, if you want to see more, you can click right here and get syncified.